Welcome back to the Expressions Podcast, everybody. I'm very happy this week to welcome our guest, Marc Hauss. In wrestling, he's been one of the guys that I have watched for a while, and he disappeared for a while, and now he's back, and we're going to talk about that. We're going to get into how his creativity is so unique and what he does is so different from a lot of people, because I think that's true, whether he does or not, but we're going to find that out, and it's going to be a great conversation. So Marc Hauss, we're going to call him Hauss tonight. We're going to call the other Marc. The other Marc. Just so we don't mess up. And of course, we've got Sean back with us tonight. Before we get to talking to Hauss, we're going to go talk to Sean and the other Marc for a quick second and just say hi. Because it's been a while and I miss you guys. So Sean, I know you've been busy. You're doing all kinds of stuff. What are you up to?
Yeah, dude, I've been like hella busy. I've just been, working on the car. A buddy of mine comes back. He works 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off because he's a paramedic of some sort. He works out in, I think, Marc's area. I'm pretty sure he's flying planes and doing God knows what. So I had a whole weekend where we just like hung out and we just did a bunch of car stuff, took some photos, met up with some other people. So it's been a busy weekend recently, and then I have a huge list of shit to do this week. So it's piling up, and being, a single dude and, running around this much is a lot. And also sushi. Great. Thank you, Robin. Just got my dinner delivered. Love that. Thank you.
Hi, Robin, by the way. Robin was another guest on our show one time.
I was just thinking that. We had Robin on.
Yeah, I was just going to say, we had Robin on too, I think, right? Yeah.
So in between conversations, Sean will be on mute as he slurps down his sushi.
Yes,
tonight.
I have my mouse already on the mute button, ready to just chow down, dude. I haven't eaten a goddamn thing all day, and I apologize in advance for not talking.
Don't apologize. You enjoy it. Enjoy it for all it's worth.
Awesome. And the other Marc, how you doing, man?
Doing excellent. Home from BC. The last show we recorded, I was in BC, and I think it was after. Yeah, it was after I shot the wedding. So that was fun. So I'm the rest of the week sort of solidified. Sean, he's enjoying that sushi. But solidified why I'm now a retired wedding photographer, because I fucking hurt.
Oh, really?
I am too old to be a. I was at the chiropractor today, and he's like, "Dude, you're messed up." I'm like, "I know." So almost 52 now, and trying to keep up with a bunch of 20-somethings at a wedding. Not
another reason not to shoot weddings.
So, but yeah, it was fun, and I mean, as I said last week, the scenery was epic. But I think after we talked last week, I had rented a car, and we did like a lot of touring around the Columbia River area, or the Columbia Valley area of BC, where we were. We were up into Banff and Lake Louise. We didn't stop in Lake Louise because you can't. There's nowhere to start. There's nowhere to park a car at any time during the summer in Lake Louise. You just have to keep driving. So, yeah. So, but it was gorgeous. It was absolutely beautiful, and the travel back was completely uneventful. Out of 6 different flights to get from Thunder Bay to BC and back, we picked up only 10 minutes in delays on the last flight, and that was it. So everything else was completely awesome. Yeah.
Well, I wanted to play some taps for you. Little sad music for the loss of our I guess our guest host that we didn't really know we had.
He was the unknown host.
The unknown host. So maybe you can tell the world what I'm talking about.
Yeah, well, anybody who's watched the podcast has known that right here there's a fish tank, and it's been there in every episode, and this is the first episode that there's only water in it, because my fish Mick, when I came back, he was floating up at the top with X's for eyes, and that was it. So my $4 Tetra, I had to flush them and whistle taps, and it was good. So Mick, you will be remembered, and
there's video evidence that Mick existed. So
yeah, you'll see a little thing dark. Now you just see the bubbles going up there. No Mick.
Jeez. Oh, Lord,
I should probably elaborate though. He was one of 4. It was all the members of Motley Crue, but Vince, Tommy, and Nikki had since passed on, and it was just Mick. And every time I tried to introduce somebody else, he just killed them. So
Mick was always the aggressive one.
He was the aggressive. He was a right nasty fish. that Mick, he was just nasty.
Well, I tell you, I do relate to how you felt about the aches and pains. I mean, I've been shooting a lot of wrestling lately, and I am 52, and that is getting up and down. The knees are feeling it, man. Yeah. I don't know how Hauss is able to handle. I mean, you're not close to my age yet. That's a good thing.
37, going to be 38 next month.
Yeah, there you go.
But in wrestling,
I'm
it takes
old
its
as
toll.
crap. I'm at 21 years.
Well, you should be happy. You should minus 6 years from that because
Yes. So 16 years active, 21 years since I started. So
Okay.
I'll take that because now I'm feeling good.
Yeah, that's great. Now let's talk about that. So we'll start off the conversation with the wrestling because that is the most prominent thing that I know you from, at least. So how did you get into it? How did that all start for you?
It started later than most. Most people will start at like, you hear their stories. I saw it when I was a little kid, and then I loved it, and I grew up. I started at 13. My parents were like, "You're never watching that because you'll end up doing it," and so they ended up holding it from me. And then my 13th birthday, like 3 o'clock in the morning, ECW was on, and I stayed up all night with my friends and watched it, and it was just some random ECW show, and I was hooked. And my parents were like, "Oh God!" And I got into backyard wrestling, and then was the kid who wore the t-shirts every day, watched every pay-per-view, watched everything, and just would eat, sleep, breathe it. And then when I got to be of age, when I was about to go to college, actually, my backyard friends and we went to some random ring with this guy named Tiger Smith and Johnny Swift, who are just awful. And they basically took money from kids that didn't know what they were doing and quote unquote trained them for 20 minutes while we then gave us a ring to use. And it was a boxing ring in the back of a dance studio. It was horrible. But from there, they're like, "Oh, we think you got some chops." And they brought me over to this place called RCW. And that's where I had a tryout. And then I got in, and the rest is history for that. I mean, ask away with whatever part of the history you want, but that's kind of where I started, was this little samurai dojo. It's the same place that Brody started it.
Really?
Or one of the places, yeah. So if you watch his little documentary from WWE, RCW was the place he was talking about, the samurai martial arts.
Okay.
That's where I wrestled.
Right on. And how long were you there?
A couple of years. I mean, I wasn't around long. I bounced around. It was unfortunately one of those situations where I was really good at selling tickets. So out of 75 people, I sold like 30, 35 tickets, thought I was a star. Bounced around to a bunch of places locally, and just people had a bad taste in their mouth for me because I was pretty arrogant and thought I was the greatest thing ever, and I was god awful. So I bounced around between RCW, this place called NEW, and I did what's UPW was NWA Upstate at the time with Mike Rosario. Those three within like the first 5 or 6 years of my career, really just kind of floundering, doing nothing. And then I remember the break for me was there was a place called Pier 6 Wrestling. They needed trainers because the people they had weren't working out and they were going to shut their doors. And I faked it till I made it and said, "I'll do it. I know how to train," having no clue what I was doing. So I called up, at the time, Colin Delaney had just finished his stint with WWE. He didn't really have anywhere that he was training or doing anything. So I recruited him as the face of Pier 6 Wrestling training, and then I kind of tried to do the legwork behind the scenes so we didn't have to. And at that point I was like, all right, if I'm going to do this, I got to take it seriously. And so then I started studying tape, picking brains, driving hundreds of miles a weekend. I spent I went back, Brian, and like the past year or two, and did the math with the amount of seminars I did. I probably got 5 to 10 grand in seminars, just traveling everywhere and doing every seminar and getting trained by seminars and by picking people's brains, because I was like, if I'm going to do this, I'm not going to take people's money. I'm not going to steal from them. I'm going to do this the right way, and I'm going to learn how to do it. So I went out and hustled and busted my butt everywhere to be able to learn to give to these kids, because I didn't want to steal from them.
That's awesome that you did it, because there's a lot of that, as you've ran across when you first started.
Many carnies. Right?
Yeah. And I know for a fact that one of the things I like the most about pro wrestling, and as you can see, I am not a pro wrestler, just make it clear. And I have to say that because I have so much respect for what you guys do. I would never profess to be that guy. You know what I mean? Anyway, long story short, just seeing what you guys do, the work ethic, and the anything from showing up at the arena or wherever you're wrestling and shaking hands with everybody and saying hi to everybody, making everyone feel welcome, whether you're a fan, whether you're helping out behind the scenes. This is like a code in wrestling, I find. And maybe it is a code in a lot of cases, the handshake and things like that. So the respect is always there. But when you're going from place to place to place, you have to make enemies, especially when you say, as you do, you had a bit of an arrogance to yourself and you had, some bravado. Did you ever find it hard to gel with the locker room, so to speak? Because I know locker room is a big part in any organization.
Not really. I mean, to be very honest with you with that is that if there was locker rooms that didn't like me, they just didn't book me. And if there was people in the locker rooms, they just wouldn't talk to me and I wouldn't know they had an issue. I mean, really, pro wrestling is like drama camp sometimes. You find out through the grapevine through 17 other people that somebody's got a problem with you because you wore a green shirt or you said brother in the wrong tone. Like, you don't really get people that confront you too much. There's a couple that do, which is great, and I appreciate that. But most people will keep it to themselves and talk to their circles, and their circles talk to their circles, and then you find out 6 months later that someone hates you because of something you had no idea, and you thought you were friends. And you get that all the time. But for me, it was one of those things where I probably had a bunch of people that didn't like me. I found out when I retired for the 6 years that a lot of people had an issue with me, but no one wanted to say anything, or they just said they had a problem with me and really didn't, just to be able to use my name for whatever reason. But when I came back, I kind of just got in the locker rooms and did everything I could to help people and tried to stay back humble, not about me, it's about everybody else type situation. But no, enemies, I mean, maybe a handful of people that had issues with me, but I talked to them, confronted it, and figured it out.
When I first met you, obviously it was in Barrie Wrestling. You came there for a while, and the crowd freaking loved you, right? I mean, you come to the ring, whose house? Marc's house. The whole crowd would go nuts. And then you came back, and the pop was awesome. I loved seeing you.
Like,
come
it wasn't
back.
even skip a beat.
Nope, not at all. And it was so many more people, and it was just great to have you back. But being gone for such a long time, first off, why? Why did you have to stop wrestling? Why did you have to retire?
So, multiple things. First, it was I had been going, I'm not kidding you when I say this, and I've talked to you about this, Brian. I was doing, so my average week, I was working a 40-hour week. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I'd work an 8-hour day. Then I'd get in the car and I'd eat dinner while I'm driving to training. And then I would go from training from like 6 o'clock at night to like 10, 11 o'clock at night. Then I would leave there and then I would go to a private gym with a trainer that would help me out till about 12, 1 in the morning, flipping tires and doing all this crazy stuff. Like, here's a weight vest, do 100 pull-ups until you pull up and die. Like, crazy stuff. And then would get home and it'd be like midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. Then I'd finally eat like my last meal. And sometimes I would try to get podcasts in there or send out merchandise and stuff. So I was sleeping from like 2 o'clock to like 6. And I was doing this 4 days a week. And then on the 5th day, I'd work 8 hours or take a half a day. And I would drive somewhere and I'd wrestle legitimately every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Most of the time it was me driving alone because people didn't want to put in the time like me that I was around at the time. So I was doing minimum 500 miles a weekend. Most of the time I drive from Sunday from like New York City through the night to get back home to drive right to work and do it all over again. I did this for years and I was burnt out. I was hurt. I didn't recover. So what ended up happening was I got hurt in 2015. I blew up my knee. I ended up actually blowing it out, and I wrestled one of the PWE shows. I don't know if you were there for PWE before it turned into Barrie.
Yes, I was.
But I came in, and my first match that I wrestled there, I actually had my ACL was blown out. You would have never known. But I ended up was in a practice match with a guy named Maddock, and I locked up, and we turned, and my leg stayed forward, and my whole body turned around backwards, popped my knee, tore the ACL, MCL, PCL, meniscus. I had like the LCL holding my whole leg together.
Oh my god!
I wrestled and went to the gym for like 6 months on it, and then finally in New York City one night went for a leapfrog, came down, popped the knee, Came home next day. They're like, yeah, you have to have surgery. There's nothing really holding yourself together. But
Jesus.
even then, like I had surgery, and I've never had surgery before in my life. And as soon as I woke up, I tried to hop out of bed, and they're like, and I can tell you there was about 10 days later, I was back on the road. I literally went to shows and became commentator, announcer, that's where I started the house calls because I had to do something. So literally I gave myself a 10-day window of a break, and then I was back to it, going to therapy 5 days a week. Even on my time off from work, I was still hustling for sponsorships, trying to keep with shows. I kept a full schedule. I was doing still 12, 13 shows a month just
So
with people.
going through all that, somebody listening to this might say, why? Like what's the end game for that kind of hustle?
At the end of the day, it was one of those situations where I wanted to make it to the top, and it's one of those things where pro wrestling is like playing in sports, like doing movies and whatnot, out of sight, out of mind. You're not seen, you're gone. And especially in this day and age where people have the attention span of a goldfish, you're gone for more than a day. You're out. Like, oh, did like the memes and all that stuff. Memes are in and out within a week, and you're like, oh, remember that meme from 6 months ago? That's like 7 years ago in like normal people time. But for everybody else in the TikTok nation, it's like a week ago. You're like, oh, it's gone. See ya. Who was that again?
However, personality sells. And I remember Sweet Brown. I'll remember Sweet Brown till the day I die.
There you go.
There's some memes that will stick out in your mind, and there's some wrestlers that will create an impact, right? And you say you sold more tickets. Is that because you were going out selling tickets, or is that because your personality in the ring was getting people to register or book tickets? Because I know in Barrie, if Marc Hauss will be there, especially our loyal fans that remember you from the day, they'll buy tickets for you.
I think a lot of it is that I tried to treat everybody like my friend because I truly cared about everybody. It wasn't about being a superstar. It wasn't about making money for the longest time. It was really just about being friends. Like, I mean, you see it, Brian. I legitimately have friends that are fans just because they didn't choose to wrestle, but I give everybody the time of day. I mean, it got to the point where you saw the Hall of Fame. I broke down and almost lost it because I hugged Ryan Schmidt. And
I was just trying to find that photo. Yeah.
And Ryan stuck. I literally, you see me, my head's buried in his shoulder, and I'm losing it because I'm emotional with the fact that I haven't seen him for 7 years. I could give two craps about wrestling. It was just being able to have that chance of seeing him again as a person. And I think what it was for me is that people see that in me. They don't see just, oh, he's a wrestling guy that I can't talk to. I am who I am. I'm no different in the ring than I am in person. When I go out after a match, if I'm a bad guy, I still go out and give high fives and hugs, and people talk to me all the time. I leave my social media open, so everybody, it doesn't matter. Yep, house party. I just posted that one recently.
Yeah.
But where's the other one? Yeah, literally, as soon as I hugged him, I was losing it right there, and I was like, hold on for a minute, and I was trying to compose myself because I didn't want to get back in the ring and be like, oh, look at that guy's crying, like, damn it. But like, that was it for me. And I think it's one of those things is that we're all people, and just because I do it in the ring and you're watching doesn't make me any more important. And I feel like some people lose sight of that because, like I said, like a social media, fans, people that watch me, that appreciate my work, my social media is open. People contact me all the time, and I will talk to them, and I've become lifelong friends with fans because they're just good people. I could care less about the idea of me being a wrestler versus them being a fan. We're all people, and they do something that I don't, and I just choose to entertain and try to do the best thing I can do for them. That's really all it is.
You get it, though, because that's what wrestling is. That's what it should be. Wrestling, without the fans, I mean, when there were no fans, it was a different kind of wrestling altogether. And it was wrestling just to get through it, right? Uh-huh. But now that there are fans again, and that's what it's all about. And that's why even me as a photographer, I focus on what's going on behind me as much as I do what's in front of me.
And I try really hard. I mean, you see it. I try really hard to give every fan my undivided attention. It's not like you go places where there's celebrities and they'll shake hands, and they don't care as much. They're just kind of there to shake hands because they know someone's going to buy a ticket or merchandise or something. I will walk up to every single person. I'll ask how they're doing. I remember things about them because I want to. And I like Ryan and Ryan, Stuckless and Schmidt. I will talk to them all the time. And it's not about selling a t-shirt or selling a ticket. It's about how are you doing as a human being. And I feel like with them, you can ask any one of the fans at Barrie. It goes a long way. I mean, I have pictures of it's going up on Fan Friday next month that I have on my social media. It's Charity. Remember Charity's kids?
Yep.
Charity's kids. The last picture that took me in 2017, they're like this big, and now they're young adults. And they took pictures side by side, and it blew my mind. And I was like, that's the type of like bonds I try to build with people.
Those are the things that mean something. Absolutely, for sure.
I think you're talking about, I mean, it's wrestling, but it's every walk of life. Anytime there's, I don't know whether you would consider yourself a celebrity or not, but in the circles, you've got fans, right? So anytime you're a person that has fans, the fans can meet you. Like how they always say, never meet your heroes, right? Because if you're going to meet your hero, like say your hero was Tommy Lee from Motley Crue, you hear rumors that he's a dick and he doesn't talk to the fans. And now some of the situations, obviously, there are times when you don't want your fans around you, but again, granted that he can't go anywhere, like an airport, a restaurant, he's probably mobbed, and I get that. But you also hear a lot of stories about a guy like Keanu Reeves, who apparently is one of the most stand-up, nicest guys in show business, who will give you the shirt off his back if it'll help you, type of thing. So you hear about good personalities and bad personalities throughout the entertainment world, if you will. And I know we've had I don't know why we've had so many wrestlers on the show, but
because I find them awesome.
No, but we have had a lot of wrestlers on the show, and it's funny because some of them say, well, what we do isn't a sport, and I would argue that it is, because it's very physical. It's a sport in very much how whether like a gymnastics would be, it's a sport, right? Because you're physical, you have to be some semblance of fit. Like, I mean, could I go out and be a wrestler? I'm a big guy. I'm chubby. Could I be a wrestler? Well, probably, right? But I wouldn't have the fitness or the stamina to do a match, right? So I would need to build that up. But it just becomes that you've got these heroes that you want to meet, and you want to have these athletes that you're looking up to and that people pay to come and see. Like you were talking about selling more tickets, and I thought, well, that's from a venue perspective, you're the wrestler they want in the ring, because you were selling those tickets, whether it's under false pretenses, like you said, you sort of fool yourself in the beginning, or I don't think that's the words you use, but you were out there hustling and you thought, I'm bringing the people in. Well, and if you were, then that is that point of pride, that's what they want, right? A wrestler has to be larger than life and seem a little big on the screen, like, oh, I did it. And that's okay from the wrestling point of view. But when, obviously Brian has invited you here, so we know you're genuinely a nice guy, because Brian hasn't invited anybody on the show that was going to not be a nice guy. Well, except for me, maybe. But it's, I love hearing you talk, that you connect with your fans and stuff. Because for me, I mean, there's a few stars that I've interacted with on social media, and every now and again, one of them will throw you that bone, and they reply to your tweet, and I've had a couple of celebrities reply to my tweets, and I'm like, hey, look at that, or they share. I mean, Alice Cooper shared one of my pictures from one of his shows, which was like, oh my god, being
on both sides of the coin. Like, I understand what it's like when you meet the celebrities and all that, and like when they don't give you the time of day. When I've had those bad experiences, I'm like, I never want to be that. I don't care how tired I am, where I'm at. Like, I understand, like, if you're creepy and you come to my house and you knock on my door and you're like, let's get an autograph. Like,
yeah.
But like, I go to shows now and it's stuff where it's like, I went on a show, Chinlock Wrestling, over in, where is it? Kingston this weekend. And there was a couple kids that walked up and they didn't have any money, and their parents like, oh, next time. I have 8x10s laying around. I don't mind eating, a few bucks here and there to be able to take care of those kids, because I remember like how much that means. Where people now are like, I understand, like, if you're going to lose money and you really can't, but it's like, I try to give free stuff out to people. I try to take pictures of everybody. I say, hey, tag me on stuff. I'll put you on. That's why I do Fan Friday. I do on every Friday. Anybody who's bought merchandise, or anybody who's taking a picture with me, regardless of buying it or not, you take a picture with me. You send me a picture. You give me your name. I will remember something about you. I put you up, and then you're the you're the featured fan of of Friday for everybody on social media to see, is like, you're the person. And I write something, a sentence or two, something nice about them that I remembered, just to make them look like $1 million, because it goes a long way being a fan to be like, oh, you cared enough to put me up there. And I mean, it takes me 2 seconds to do, and it means something to me, but it means something to them way more. And I'm just a dude. Like I tell Brian all the time, I'm just a dude. I'm nobody special. I'm just a dude. I just chose to go in professional wrestle instead of be an engineer or go into sales. Like, I'm just a dude.
And you find that, like I did security for concerts and for several years, and I met a lot of musicians, a lot of and you very, very quickly learn they're just people.
We're just people.
I think
There's
that's what we have
special
to.
about us.
We have to remember that, though, in life. Everybody has to remember that humans are humans. That's it. Every human is as nasty as the other. Every human could be as nice as the other. It's your choices that you make. So what I find, though, is the wrestling world has a lot of very genuine people that will step up and say, no, I don't think that's true. Or, we'll call you on your shit if you've got shit. Because they can take care of themselves. So what do they have to lose? You know what I mean? Nothing. Yeah. If you don't like what they have to say, well, fuck off. Who cares? Right? I mean,
and our word is our currency for the most part.
That's right. That's right. And if you're booked back at a place for a lot of consecutive times, then that shows a lot about your character. Because if you're a dick and you cut out on jobs and you're not good to your promoter, then you're not invited back.
I mean, it was the fact of calling Sean after 6 years and be like, "Hey, man, is there an opportunity?" And he was like, "Yep." Not even a question. Like, I never made it big, but the thing is that I did enough to build a genuine reputation with a lot of places that all I had to do is say, "Hey, I'm coming back," and then all of a sudden my schedule went, and I'm booked on a very regular basis. I mean, a lot of people are struggling to get bookings, and I'm like booked out for the next 6 months solid. Awesome. Because all I had to do was call places and go, "Hey, I'm back," and they're like, "We trust you. You're a good person. We'll put you in a good spot. Come on down."
Good to hear.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that. That's awesome.
So go ahead, Mark.
I was just wondering. So after all of the injuries and everything, and then you were out there promoting and like I'm imagining House Call, that was a commentary piece.
So what it was, I needed to figure out something, and at the time there was only like 2 or 3 people doing it. Kevin Owens is one of them, but there wasn't many. And all I did was that people want to see what goes on in real life. So what did I do? I did a vlog of commentary of in the car driving, this is where I'm going. Then I would get highlights of my match. I mean, originally it started off with me just giving my thoughts on things that are funny and things that are amusing. Like the first House Call I did, there was a match where this guy jumped off the top rope and was trying to jump through a table, but ended up doing something, but he put himself through a table instead of the other person, and it looked kind of silly. So I took a video of it, and I was like, I put the Benny Hill music on it and like had him fall through it, and it was like, oh, this is ridiculous. And I just started doing that. And then the more I did it, what I would also do is that this is how I made a lot of friends, is I would go up to somebody newer, generally someone newer that needed a little bit of a push for confidence, and I'd be like, hey, who are you? Where'd you come from? Like 30 seconds to a minute. You're on the House Call. Tell me something about you. You did a great job tonight in your match. Want to give your social medias? Put it on the bottom. It wasn't much, but it was enough to get people to be like, oh, and then people started wanting to be on it. I'd go over to fans. I'd talk to fans and tell them to give them my 2 cents. I would, afterwards, I would show a little bit backstage that I could without giving away too much. I'd show us at the restaurants or driving in our cars on the way home, but it was a completely unfiltered version of us from start to finish, from getting to the arena, going through everything, what we do afterwards, how we go home, meeting everybody, putting new faces out there, giving highlights of our matches, where I'm going to be next. It was just, I just made 72. I just made number 72 this week.
Nice.
So but it's like, you can go in, it's like 10 minutes and under, and it's me just putting over talent and doing stuff behind the scenes. But it was awesome. I love doing it. And that's what I ended up doing to kind of keep busy. And then it turned into a thing that people wanted to be on.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool though. So now, what brought you back into wrestling? Where was the decision to get back in the ring per se after the injuries, and you're obviously recovered now?
Yeah.
What? And you alluded that you're younger than us, but you're older.
Yeah.
older for a wrestler. But what was that thought process like, and why did you make that switch back into the ring?
Let's go back real quick because I didn't actually answer the original question for you, Brian. So I got hurt. I came back. I wrestled for a couple of years after I got hurt. It got to the point where I had so many nagging injuries I could barely walk. People didn't know this. I was hiding it, but I was like dragging my feet. I had a bunch of concussions. Like my body was riddled. I was doing so much, and then I got out of it. It took me a couple of years to heal, and we can probably get into this later, Brian. But I was in a relationship that just didn't work for me. We held on way too long, and it kind of forcefully kept me away. And then when I was done with that, I kind of sat down. I was like, all right, do I want to make this jump? And the question for you, Mark, is that one of the biggest reasons I wanted to come back is that by the time when I left, because my last match was Tyson Dukes in Barrie. That was the last match I had. At the time, I have a bunch of nieces and nephews, and some of them were not born yet, and some of them were very, very small infants. And over the years, I didn't bring it up to them much, but my family did, and they were like, have you seen this video? Mark did Uncle Mark did this. And so they started watching it, and they thought I was the biggest celebrity they've ever seen, but they've never seen me live. And I was like, I can't do that to them. I can't, because like, that's going to be it until their generation has kids. My family's kind of done having kids. So I was like, okay. So I made a decision December that I was going to come back, and I lost 45 pounds in a matter of a couple months and got back in the ring shape and hustled and went and got back in the ring and wrestled for half of them. The other half I'm wrestling this Wednesday for, and then in August. So they'll be seeing me, but it was one of those things where I wanted to do it for the kids because I wanted them to see it. Plus, as weird as this, it's something that I struggle with daily, is that I feel at times that when I left, I abandoned a lot of the fans because I had such strong connections with them. I felt guilty, and there was a part of me, it's like, you still have something left in the tank. You got to go kill yourself for these people because they were there for you and they helped you. And I was like, okay. And then I kind of came back, and then I missed a bunch of them, and then I'm like, all right, now I'm back in the groove of it. I'm feeling all right. My body's telling me I'm okay. I miss these people. I can't wait to see them. It makes my day. So I'm like, all right, let's get back on the road just for as long as I can, and know that this could be the last match. So I just enjoy the days that I go out there and do what I got to do.
You certainly seem like you're having a good time.
Yeah.
And when I saw you come back, you definitely looked better than you did the last time I saw you, which is right here.
I was rough.
There you go.
I was so hurt at that point.
In hindsight, I look back on the photos and I can see it.
So I ended up taking a crossbody from one of Santino's students. His name was Freedom Wallace, but he gave it to me low, and I caught him, and it blew out my lower back. So at the time, I had sciatic issues, disc issues, nerve issues. Both my elbows were healing from being chipped. So I have they're I don't know if you can see it. It's kind of, but they're grown over the nerves and tendons. There's bone growing over it. I had concussions. I had got broken fingers. You name it. Like everything was wrong with me, and I was doing it basically alone, where I was getting up and just trying to survive, and no one knew. I would just put on the smile face. I'd go around the shows. I'd be the same person I am right now, except in so much pain. I would go home, pass out, wake up, sleep like 3 to 4 hours, and then barely get out of bed, and I'd have to crawl to get to like the shower. Jeez. And people had no idea because I would just hide it. I didn't want anybody's help, and I didn't want anybody to feel pity for me. Plus, at that point too, I found out is that this year I got a CPAP machine. I've been living all those years sleeping like 3 or 4 hours a night. I was at 78% oxygen, so I was barely breathing. I was sleeping like 6 minutes an hour.
Yeah.
So for all those years doing all that stuff, I was getting maybe 45 minutes to an hour of sleep.
That is rough. I have they call it severely obstructive sleep apnea. I wake up every 2 minutes, and your first night with that machine, you feel like you've never slept.
I feel amazing now. I can sleep more than 4 hours at a time. Yeah. I get so much more done. I'm so much happier. But now you know how that is. But imagine taking like basically a 21 hour day and then having to try to sleep without a CPAP. I don't know how I did it. I don't know how I didn't die.
I made a bad decision once, and I couldn't fit my CPAP machine in my bag for a carry-on, and that's all I was taking for a flight. And I'm only gone for 2 nights. I'm just taking the carry-on. I'll forget it. I'll leave the machine. Worst decision, because you don't sleep. You do,
Nope.
and of course nobody in the rooms around you sleep because I snored. Yeah, so my wife loves it because I don't snore anymore.
Yep.
So she can, she just has she calls it the wonderful light hiss of we call it the Minox, because it's like, when Han Solo was looking for the Minox on the.
It does sound like that. I always put it on because I was like, oh, it's my Vader mask, because it's just
I was disappointed though. I thought I'd have more dreams about scuba diving, and I've had one.
They're like, you're supposed to dream. I haven't dreamt once, but I'm sleeping amazing, so I'll take it.
I dream all the time, and we won't even go there. But yeah, I sleep through the night now. But well, I'm glad you got that sorted out, because that can come, and it's my PSA of the day. If you think you might have sleep apnea, or if somebody you're sleeping beside is waking up gasping, get them tested, because that can cause a lot of health issues, cardiac implications, and things like that.
Oh, absolutely. Get it done. It's changed my life, and I've only had it for a couple of months.
Yeah, I have no doubt that I made it to 51 and a half years old, almost 52 now, because I had that. I think I probably would have been gone by about 45 if I didn't have that machine. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. That's wild.
I was going to make a joke earlier, Mark, when you were talking about how injured you were, about how alike you and Sean probably are. Maybe Sean doesn't have quite as many injuries.
Well, I was a professional wrestler for that 10 days of a Caribbean cruise. If you remember the story. Yeah.
Thankfully, you didn't wrestle anybody as the garbage man.
No, I didn't. There was a guy on a cruise. He was drunk the whole time, and like day 2, he's like, "Hey, you're a wrestler," and I'm like, "No, man, I'm not a wrestler." And the whole every time he saw me, he's like, "I know you. You're a wrestler." And so finally, on like day 8, I'm like, "All right, you got me. I'm retired." And he's like, "You were the what were you called?" I'm like, "Oh, it was the garbage man." And he's like, "The garbage man, that's right." He's, "Yeah, garbage man." And he goes, "In your finishing move was, I pick him up and I throw him out of the ring, or take it out the trash." And and he's like, the guy is just, every time he saw me after that, he's drunk. He's like, "Garbage man, take out the trash."
And this is why I don't go on cruises.
I want to go on a cruise.
Well, but we'd be out, man. The guy become my wife and go, "Oh no," right? Because I jump right into character, right? "Oh, garbage man," right? And the guy's like, pick me up." He's bigger than I am, and he's drunk. He's like, "Pick me up and take out the trash." I'm like, "No, I'm retired."
I think this is about the 5th time the garbage man story has come up.
Yeah,
on the podcast.
well, that's probably the 5th time we've had a wrestler on. So
that's probably
that's the garbage man.
He's like my brother.
We can arrange this.
Let's do it. Let's do it this Saturday.
Let's do it. We'll have the amateur, and just promise don't mop the floor with me until at least halfway through the round.
Well, that is one thing.
You just bring me up on the top rope, and you just throw me, and I'll just land in the garbage can. It'll be good, easy.
There you go. Problem solved. Mark will make it work.
We'll make it a dumpster though, so I don't have to aim too hard.
You don't have to aim. All you got to do is push. I'll jump. I'll do the rest.
It is one thing though I got to give the wrestling world credit for, is they do not let untrained people in the ring.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
well,
I would rather wrestle an imaginary bear, which I have done before, than wrestle someone who's untrained.
Exactly.
Who was the guy? It was the backyard wrestling, and they wrestled a rock.
Oh, Psycho Mike.
Yeah,
Psycho Mike is amazing. He's so good.
I never did go find those on YouTube. I should.
You should.
Backyard Pro.
That's all phenomenal.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so you were gone for 6 years. Yep. One of those reasons was a relationship.
Yep.
How bad can somebody's will over you be, and how debilitating can that be when you have these desires, you want to do all these things, and yet there's this, and you know what, I know the story. We talked about this. We don't need to get into the whole thing if you don't want to, but I know that you were trying to do the right thing the entire time. And I give you a lot of credit for that. And finally, you're able to get yourself out of a situation. But briefly, how bad was that for you mental health wise? And what did you do to finally bring yourself to a place where you can make the change?
Let's paraphrase as much as we can.
Yeah, for sure.
So I got out. I wanted to get back into wrestling. It was one of those situations where the conversation with us was, when you get out, you're out. And I was like, well, I kind of want to go back in, and then it was, no, it's one or the other. And there was kids involved or a child involved, and I grew up in a broken home where my parents were divorced. So I made it my choice, or my choice is that if I get involved with someone with a child, I stay, because that's the choice you make. You don't walk away from that. So we stuck around too long, and then it got to a point where there was a conversation with the child, and then there was an understanding, and then but it got to a point where I'd say about a year and a half before everything ended, there was an unfortunate night where choices almost were made that were permanent, and then I thought better of it and went and went and decided to go get help and went to therapy and decided to go get a bunch of therapy for a long time. And I still, to this day, regardless of my mental state, I go once a month for maintenance. So regardless if it's good or bad, I go and I talk to them and I tell them either what's going good in life or what's going bad in life. And even when I have nothing that I feel is bad, I will go in and have a conversation for good. And I will talk through a lot of the situations that are going good. And then it makes you realize either A, yes, it's a good situation, but it triggers this that could potentially be improved upon because there's always something to improve. Or B, if I have a good conversation, it'll make me feel positive towards the future because I have made such leaps and bounds. Because what I do now is that whenever I'm having a bad day, honestly, I know it sounds really weird, and I try to give this to other people as well, is that I put myself in the position I was at. So like if I was having a bad day today, I would go back and think of where I was July 10th, 2022. And I go, what were you doing then? And if I've improved even just a little bit, then I've succeeded. A lot of people will go back and they'll go back 10 years and be like, well, I used to do this or I used to do this. And it's like, great, we also do stuff. But last year, what were you doing versus this year? And a lot of times people will be able to say something positive like, oh, I got a promotion in my job, or, I have new friends, or I'm down 5 pounds. Like most people aren't going to be like, I gained 50 pounds and I lost my leg and my job's terrible and my family decided. Like you're not going to, most people will not have everything go wrong in their life. They're going to be able to look at it and go, well, this got better. Even if something got worse, most people, when you give them that situation, will always find something positive that got better. And then people's mindset focus on that. It's like a lot of people I've talked to that have horrible mindsets that need help. When I ask them that question, 99% of the time people go, well, I did this better. That's the first thing they say, not I did this worse or this happened worse or my life's in shambles. They go, well, this happened, even if 10 other things are bad. And it gets them out of at least somewhat of the funk. I know it sounds silly, but that's like the question I ask everybody first when they're having a bad day. Where were you 365 days ago?
Mental trick to bring you back out of that funk.
Helps me.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
You okay there, Mark? Everything good?
Yeah.
The other Mark?
I'm Hauss. It's good.
Sorry.
All right, cool. Okay, so I'm glad you're back. And of course, the day you come back to Barrie Wrestling, at least, was a pretty big day because you joined a very exclusive club, of pretty awesome people who are the Barrie Wrestling Hall of Famers, of which I am proud to say I am one of, I guess you could say. I'm one of. Is that the right way to say it? Yes, I've got the plaque. So yes.
Where's my plaque?
You didn't get a plaque? You got a little trophy or something, didn't you?
Oh, that trophy. So pull back the curtain a little bit. That trophy was last minute because it was supposed to be used for some chili cook-off. So he gave me the chili cook-off trophy to use for the day, and then I gave it back to him. So I still don't have anything, and I think it's because I decided to come back and wrestle. I didn't get anything. So maybe you can talk to Sean. I would love to have something for my personal records for my future, but I don't have anything. I got a trophy I had to give back and then told, well, we're going to use you next month for a wrestling show. And that was the end of it. So I don't think I'm getting anything for my Hall of Fame. I think I'm just getting a thumbs up.
I wanted
but I would
ring,
love to have something, even just like a piece of paper that says like, good job. Like I'd love something because I have everything saved in boxes for when I'm done. And I love looking back on that stuff. So if you can ask Sean, that'd be
absolutely awesome. I will absolutely talk to Sean. How dare he? The guy gets a trophy that is destroyed on Canada Day by Clay, and he's trashing it and breaking it, and he won't give you an 8x10. I gotta talk to him. Anyway, I'm glad you're back, and I'm glad that you're in the Hall of Fame because
Me too.
there are very few people who. I remember Sean asked the group, the I guess the cronies, you could say, the Barry cronies. Hey, you guys, if there's a Hall of Fame, who would be one of your picks? And I just Hauss, and it was loved by everybody in the chat, and I knew it was going to happen. I was like,
Well, I appreciate that. That means the world to me because it's one of those things that just kind of validates what I'm doing, the person I am, because it's less about what my work is doing. Because I know that like you could be the best wrestler in the world, but if you're D-bag, no one's gonna want you in a Hall of Fame.
True, and that all goes part and parcel with the personality, right? So that's where your creativity comes from, and that's where I think we should start branching off to now.
Sure.
Is the creativity side of what you do, podcasting, social media, all of these things. How important is social media, and how do you use it creatively?
I mean, it's unfortunately, fortunate, unfortunate, depending on how you look at it. It is the lifeblood of everything now in 2023. I am more of a face-to-face, like texting. I would rather call you on the phone. I'd rather meet you person to person. It's not like that nowadays. But like with social media, you have to be able to create a persona, but it's that fine line of creating the persona versus being a genuine person because you don't want to be taken advantage of by people because you're nice. But you got to set those boundaries, but also be able to set it with being a real person. So it's really hard. It's like with social media now, like, I feel like I have a decent presence. I don't have a ton of followers like a lot of big names and whatnot, but I'm pretty consistent in the crowd and the demographic that I do have are very consistent in terms of talking to me, interacting with me, engaging with me. So I have a smaller group, but a very active group, I guess. Plus,
that makes
the
sense,
social media too is that I've learned that we are all creatures of habit, so it's all consistency. So like right now, I have literally something for every day, Monday through Friday, that I release at the same time every week. Like Monday is my weekend Monday, so I put all the posters and whatnot of everything I'm doing for that weekend. Tuesday's Talk Tuesday, so it's all my promos for the week. Wednesday is Watch a Match Wednesday, which is my previous week's worth of wrestling matches, and then Worker Wednesday, I try to take a wrestler that I'm friends with or someone I want to take pictures with, which Saturday we'll have to do, Brian. And then I just post a little blurb about them and give them a shout out on social media. Thursday is Thrifty Thursday for my merchandise, and then I put house calls out, and then Friday is Fan Friday. So I try to do something every day.
And you work full time still?
Yes, I work full time and then gym 5 days a week and
How?
working on a second job. I don't know.
I don't even know, dude. Like I don't do all that stuff, and I still feel like I can't keep up. And the social media stuff, we haven't posted an episode in months now.
You know what it is? So Facebook has a business manager thing now that you can use. And what you can do is you can actually go on, click on the calendar, and preempt your entire month. So I'll go out and spend like 2 hours one random Sunday afternoon and post 90% of my content. And then when I get home on Sunday, I spend an hour and I upload my matches, and then I edit my house calls, and then I cut my promos, and I post everything there. So by the time Monday comes around, I've spent an hour every Sunday posting everything out, and then it's already done. So I don't have to do anything. It's already done.
Throughout the week, it's just posting as you go.
Yep. So I don't really post as I go. I mean, literally, it's Instagram. So I just get a photo, I save a bunch of photos, and I'm like, okay, this one here, and just kind of release for how I'm feeling for the day, and just to kind of cheer everybody up with something stupid. And then, but every Sunday I tend to post what I need to for the week, but usually it's like 1 or 2 things, and then the rest of the month is already filled in. So I spend maybe a total of like 4 hours, 5 hours a month, but I get 30 posts, and I get not even probably more than that because I do sometimes 3 to 4 posts a day. So I'm doing like 100 plus posts a month on like 5 hours of work. It's just being efficient and being disciplined. That's the hard thing, is that there's motivation and discipline. And motivation, everybody's like, oh, I need to be motivated. All motivation is good for is about 2 days a year. Discipline is being able to do it when you don't want to do it. So I get home and I'm like, it's 10 o'clock at night and I'm exhausted. I have to do this. Do it. And I just do it and I go to bed and it's done.
Well, the most successful people in the world are the most disciplined. It absolutely makes sense.
Yep.
You get your shit done.
I get that. Like I shot that wedding a couple of weeks ago, and I did, even though I know it's my last wedding, I did what I always do. I got back to where we were staying, I loaded all the pictures to the computer. I had a shower while they were loading in and making their reviews, and then I edited like 6 or 7 photos and I emailed them to the bride. So the morning of, the morning after, when she wakes up, she's got not everybody's iPhone pictures. She has my professional photos in her inbox. Even though that's my last wedding that I'm going to shoot, that was important to me that I continue to give her that same experience that every other bride I've shot has. Right. So that's what you talk. That's a discipline. Like I'm dog tired. I'm in pain. I just want to have a shower and fall into bed. But I'm like, nope, I'm doing it.
But the thing is, that's what makes you successful, because I really feel that the people is most successful. Because the thing, maybe I'll hold on, I'll get into it in just a sec, because I think I've talked to you about it a little bit, Brian, and I know it probably sounds silly to a lot of people, but some people it resonates with. But having that discipline, one, it builds your brand, and it makes you, when you're consistent like that, people are more willing to work with you because they know what they're going to get. You're not a wild card. You know what you're going to get. I will pay you more money, or I will use you over somebody else, Mark, because I know that you're going to do this, this, and this, and I'm going to get at least some pictures by the end of the night. Like, no matter what, I'm getting this. So I will pay you more money knowing I'm getting consistency than to pay somebody half the rate and not know what I'm getting. I'm not going to roll the dice. But like the thing is too, is like, especially with people's motivation and consistency, is nowadays, I mean, I'm probably going to get a little backlash for it because some people might not agree, but the world is a very easy place. I mean, it's still difficult. People struggle, but the idea of, for a lot of countries, being able to survive, somebody will find a way to take care of you if you ask. Somebody. There's always something out there. It's not like it was hundreds of years ago where, like, if you truly don't have a meal, you got to go out and forage it, kill it, something, or you just don't eat. Like, if you're sick, you're dead. Like, that's it. Yeah. And so people have gotten so comfortable where, I mean, even now it's like you have DoorDash and you have people to clean your house and people to bring you food. You don't have to cook anymore. You don't have to clean. You don't do anything if you don't really want to. And I feel like that the idea of a work ethic for a lot of people, not everybody, because there's a lot of people that still work hard, but there's a lot of people that don't have to, so they won't. And so discipline is one of those things that is slowly starting to fade away with certain groups of people because they don't have to. And that's where I think a lot of it is, like, Mark, what you were talking about, is having that consistency. People really value that, especially if you don't have the discipline and consistency. You will look to somebody like that and go, I want to use them, because you know what you're going to get is something that you currently don't practice, and it goes a long way.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So just because I'm not going to shoot weddings anymore doesn't mean that I'm not going to, try and for another client. Like, I do a lot of work for local theater groups here. I've actually just got my second theater group now that wants to use me for their cast portraits and for some shots during the events. So I don't get those, I do because I love the people that run the groups, but I don't get paid for it. I do it for a love of the craft and a love of the theater. I even buy, I don't take comp tickets. I buy the tickets to the theater, right, to go see the play. So that's part of it. Now, if I wanted to, I could make that a side hustle where I'm doing portraits and potentially charging, but they know I'm going to get the service. So even though those theater groups don't pay me for the pictures, I get them their photos as fast as humanly possible, because even though it's a free service, I want them to have service like they've paid for it. Right. So that's important to me. Right?
And that's what builds that loyalty. It goes a long way. Even buying tickets. I'm the same way. I'll have people that will be like, oh, give me this or give me this. I mean, I've asked Brian, and I've just stopped asking Brian. I've literally stopped asking him because there's gotten to the point where in the past I'm like, how much do you want? Oh. He would never ask for it, but I always offer. I was like, how much do you want? Do you want a free t-shirt? Do you want this? But I always try to give back to people regardless, because, Brian does a phenomenal job at what he does. He makes me look better than anybody else on the indies because of his work. And it's like, you're going to make me money here. Please take something. And he's refused it so many times. Yeah. But a lot of workers will be like, oh, sweet, what can I get out of you? And it's like, not even workers, people in general are just like, what's in it for me? If it's not in for me, it's so hard to find people that just want to do something for the sake of doing something and not have to be told, or, oh, look at me, I'm taking video of myself doing something, please praise me. It's like, I do so many things that people don't know, but I don't sit here and have to talk about it because I know for me, that's what I do.
Well, that's what you have to do.
Yeah. But and that's it. I mean, Brian, you're always your worst critic. You're always your own worst critic, right? So I know Brian. I see him when you're talking about how phenomenally make him look and everything. He makes you look, and he's like, yeah, whatever. I can see the look on his face. I know Brian. But I mean, I am only the photographer I am because of Brian. He's
Guys,
the one
stop.
I took classes at college and whatnot, but all of the tricks, all the technical shit that I know is because of Brian. I mean, I learned how to pose a portrait and stuff.
Sorry, I had to mute Mark. He's talking too much. That's enough out of you, young man.
Is it my turn, Mark? Should I start going?
You can. But the point is that I know you're always your own worst critic, right? So
always.
I do it with myself. I'm always critical of my pictures and things like that. And half the time I'll be rejecting pictures of my wife, and she's the final pass through. She's like, no, put that one back. It's a good image. I'm like, yeah, but no. It's a good image. It's a good memory. Leave it in. I'm like, all right.
It's a gift and a curse because it makes us better every day. Yeah. Because if you're not satisfied, it sucks because you never feel like you've made it to the top, but you always get better and better because there's always something to learn. We're never perfect.
I find it funny though because I'm literally the least competitive person on the planet. Like my DM will call me. He's like, oh, this store is doing better than you. I'm like, oh, good for them. Hey, wait, am I doing better than I did at this time last year? And he's like, yeah. So going back to your previous comment, where were you July 10th, right? So is my business doing better July 10th, 2023 than it was 2022? And the answer is yes. Am I hitting projections? Not quite, but we're doing better. I'll take it. Up is up, baby. That's it.
That's what hurt so much about the COVID situation for me, because for the first time in my life, I wasn't progressing. I was regressing. My pay was lower. I did less. I didn't do anything. And it really wasn't until 2023 that I actually kicked back in again. And a lot of it was because of these guys that I'm here in the podcast with, giving me encouragement and all these praises that I don't listen to and I slough off. I hear it. I appreciate it. But at the same time, it's not about me, right? It's about, like Hauss is saying, it's about giving back and doing something for the right reasons. And that's why I like doing what I do. I didn't get paid until 2023. I've been doing it since 2007.
So you want to lease a T-shirt on you want at least one of these T-shirts on Saturday? You at least want one of those?
I bought one of your T-shirts. I was going to wear it for the thing, but I didn't want to be a butt for
that. Is an awesome T-shirt, by the way.
There we go. And the cool part is that the guy who made it actually put Mark up here in the suits, and the diamond is actually the wrestling ring.
Nice.
I know that's small little details, but I
will take a shirt. I will take an extra large.
What's that, extra large? Okay.
Yes, please.
I'll bring it on Saturday.
I'll have one for you too.
How much you sell them for?
I sell them for 20, but the thing is, I always say 20, and then it just really depends on the person. If someone's really struggling, then we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
I'm not out to make money. I'm just out to make sure I'm not losing a ton.
Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah, I've got one of Brian's wife shot me one, and I wear it. People are like, what? Because they don't get it, right? Yeah, that shirt.
I love it.
Yeah.
This is my shooting shirt. The ones I sell have the white shot me on the front. When I'm shooting, I put it on the back so that you'll see it if I'm shooting.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing too, Brian, like you were saying with COVID and all that and giving back, like it's funny as it sounds, I spent that time during COVID trying to learn as much as possible. I learned a lot about investing, learned a lot about life growth. Like I did a lot of learning because I realized that the world stood still. So this was a perfect opportunity because I worked from home for me to learn skills and to try to figure out how to get better. And that's where I kind of took it serious, where I was like, figure out skills, do stuff, learn, become marketable. So I took it as a pause. But one of the things I kept hearing over and over again from all these super successful people was charity. And I was like, that's silly. Why would I give away anything that I made? This is silly. And it's funny because now 2023, the more I give away and the more I give people, the more the world comes back tenfold, which they say on all these podcasts and these videos and all that. And I thought it was a joke. I was like, this is nonsense. This is just a way to sell a course or a way to get you to buy something. And it's true. Like you've given away probably so much of your time in terms of photography. And, it's come around full circle where you are the godfather of freaking photography in that area. And I think that every single pro wrestler in that area would go to war for you, would fall on a sword for you because of what you've done for them over the years, and you just like, oh, I'm just taking pictures because that's just what I do and I love doing it. But you don't realize that you have like an army of pro wrestlers. It'd be like mess with him and you got 100 of us you got to
That's
deal
pretty
with.
cool. That's good because
That's
I've always
true,
been
though.
picked on and beat up when I was a kid, so I need that kind of protection.
You got all of us. Like seriously, it was one of those things where like someone was messing you, I'd be like, I'll be there in 4 hours.
Oh, dude, you're awesome. Thank you.
Just keep that in mind, Brian. If you ever move, right, you got 100 pro wrestlers like packing your house and moving your shit. We
would probably move you in a couple hours.
And
I was going to say 20 minutes, but a couple hours is
and you
probably-
know I
don't
would never
know
ask.
how nice it would be. It'd probably be broken. Lots of stuff.
All right,
Brian carrying his camera bag and his computer.
Yeah, just let me take my stuff. Actually, it's funny you're talking about that because when I shot Cornwall, Destiny Wrestling in Seaway Valley in Cornwall, and I brought my computer with me. I don't have a laptop, so I had to pack up my computer and bring it with me because I wanted to get them photos by the next day. I wanted to get them something, right? So, yeah, that work ethic you're talking about is important. And I'm finding it very difficult, though, especially considering how many shots I have to take in each match, and the turnaround is becoming kind of tough. The Barrie Wrestling Canada Day ones, and I was working on them all day today. I've still got like a whole day worth to get through, so it's frustrating when I can't fulfill that.
But it's one of those things too with us is like, at least the wrestlers, just pick your favorite one shot. Like as long as we get one good shot, just as a wrestler's perspective.
I can't pick a favorite. I'm the worst for that.
So just pick one. It doesn't matter if you can just get the workers one photo per match, right up front. Take all the time you need. Like it's one of those things where we would appreciate one good photo that we can use.
Yeah.
Than to have like you sent me the picture here. Let me pull them up right now. I'm actually look at my phone.
Or take the 6, right? Because that was something that when I did that wedding course with your day tripper Brian, that was something I think it was Gabriel had said that's what he does, and instead of trying to get like 100 images out, grab those 6 or a dozen, and do a couple of posts, do 3 posts, boom, 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 and then it becomes like a game. I'll bet all the wrestlers will be like, "Oh my God, Brian posted my picture." Brian posted
pretty much.
My picture.
I mean, it would work. And another
Yeah.
thing too is if you really wanted to fulfill everybody's match, I will give you just like how we structure a match. I will give you exactly what we're looking for. 2 pictures, or a total. If you wanted to do this, it would be a total of, let's say, 5 pictures. 5 pictures max we would be happy with, and then eventually if you just wanted to give us photos, even if they were unaltered, we would be happy with it. If you gave us 5 edited pictures and the rest of them are just raw shots, we would be super happy.
You'd never see my raw.
but what I'm saying though, so if you could get us, because the things that go best for us and the things that we post the most that would get you over is an entrance picture for both of us or whatever they are. So if there's 2 people in the ring, you get me, let's just say it's me and Clay, me versus Clay, or the Stratos one, me coming out, Stratos coming out, 1 move for each of us. So you gave me with the senton, you gave Stratos with a DDT, and then whoever won the match. You get those 5, you have yourself a complete match that makes everybody happy because one person gets 3 photos, the other one gets 2 based on what they are. And I mean, you gave me the pictures with me and Rocco. One of them was enough. I'm going to turn around. I turned around and I'm going to put that in there and use it for all my promotional pictures. But there's a picture out there where it's like me and Rocco standing outside of the ring. Boom. I'm happy with that. Then there's one where I'm giving a senton. Boom. If those are the only, because those are the only 2 I have. And then Stratos has him coming out, hitting a DDT, and me getting the 3 count. Those 5 pictures are more than enough in a 20-minute match, a 50-minute match, a 2-minute match. And if you can narrow it down and do 5 maximum per match, that would make it super easy, hopefully easier than what you're doing now.
Yeah.
And we would be happy. I guarantee you. If you asked everybody in the locker room, like, hey, I can't pump this out, but I can get you this, this, and this, I guarantee you 99% would be like, great. You get one of me being featured, one of me doing something cool, and one of me hopefully winning.
I'm not going to have 28 terabytes of hard drives full of photos and only share 5.
Well,
but I'm saying like short term. If you,
I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, just to get it out quick. I understand.
And even quicker to get something out the night of. Do 5 photos. Do 7 photos.
Top 5,
of the entire night. of
Yeah.
every match, and then you work on.
That's what I started doing more recently.
Especially with Barry Wrestling, you do 5 pictures like that, like the top 5 pictures, and you always do one with a fan, and then you let them vote on it, and then whoever wins the thing, maybe Sean goes out and gives like Wrestler of the Month for this because they had the best picture. It's something small, but it gives people engagement. It lets the wrestlers be able to post that stuff and push it, and then it gives the fans a reason to be able to fight for whoever they like or don't like. Like the one picture you took of me where I was shushing Clay. It was hilarious, but people might like that because it was funny. But there you go. You got 5 photos. Mark, that was a wonderful idea. You get 5 photos, you turn it around, turn it into a game, and let people have fun with it.
Yeah.
And then it gives you time to be able to take a deep breath and not feel like you're under the gun. And then you can slowly release stuff. But like I was saying, you do those 5 photos per wrestler, and let's say you have a really good day 6 months from now, and you just do a photo dump, and you're like, here's Barry, here's this, and you're done. And then you can take your time on it, and no one's going to give you crap for it because, like I said, you're not just some run-of-the-mill, I'm going to take crappy pictures. You know you're getting quality work, and I don't mind waiting 5 or 6 months to get quality pictures if I'm going to get a couple up front.
It all depends. I hear where you're coming from. And the fact that we're having this conversation is perfect because this is the creativity side of it, right? We're just being creative, coming up with interesting ideas to market ourselves and to get the brand going. I love that. That's exactly the point of these conversations. But at the same time, I also look at all my photos, my 2,000-3,000 photos a night, and think there's stories being told here, right? And I can't post this one without these other photos that tell that story with it. This is the way my brain wires, right? Because there's the build-up move, and then there's the look in the eye, like I'm going to do this, and then there's the doing it, and then there's the reaction to what was done, and that whole thing tells a story that I like. But there's so many different ways, and it's like you say, get them out first. And I love the idea of a top 5 photo. I'll probably start implementing that right out by the next day, and then that'll give me time to get the photos done. However, if I'm being hired by a company like Destiny or whomever, they got to have photos as soon as possible. So I'm trying to get those albums complete.
Well, that's a different story. If you're doing ones where you're creating charity for it, then you do your top 5. Plus, you know what that's going to do? Because people know your quality of work, it's going to force the wrestlers to get better because they're going to start working your camera more if they want to be.
I've noticed that's happening. I've noticed.
But you notice how I'm constantly walking over to you, like the whole thing with Stratos, where it's in the ropes. He found you, and I was like, "Go find Brian." Like literally, we're talking in the ring. I said, "Go find Brian." And I sold. As soon as I took a move, I sold over to you, and I put my face right in your camera. Yeah. And then as soon as I realized your camera was there, he tried to pull away, and I was like, "Nope." But that's the thing. It makes the workers better because they need to be able to work the cameras, both still photography and cameras, and it puts them in a position where they have to get better to work towards TV. So you're doing them actually a service by making them compete for it.
And it's great to see who actually has the level of interest to see that and who doesn't.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of wrestlers who don't give a crap, and then there's some who do. And even like referees that'll say, oh, Brian's right there, let's not stand in his way. And then others are just doing their thing. It's interesting to see that shift since I've started shooting more. But
because people are more professional, like they're becoming more professional, they're being more conscious of that, especially in a day and age where online is more important than I'm not going to say that online is not more important than the actual fan, but in terms of the longevity of everything, social media is becoming just as important, if not a slight bit more important than what the fans see, because you have to work.
Yeah. And I'll be honest with you. I just canceled my Netflix. Screw Netflix. They suck.
I don't have it.
No, I'm done with them. And I'm spending that money on IWTV. And I'm watching some matches from all over the place of wrestling events from all over the places I've shot at that I didn't even know were on there. And then, all this new stuff. And I'm loving it, man. I'm loving watching the wrestling after I've shot an event because I'm seeing so much more.
And it's such night and day difference. Like I'll send you afterwards. I have there's a Grapple Pro company out in Buffalo that I work, and it's literally just a warehouse that's a training facility, and they tape it with really high-end cameras with like 10 students in the crowd. Like they don't show them, but they're there, and it's like underground. And I wrestled a match with this guy named Jeremiah Richter, and I worked towards the cameras like I tried to do lately, and it was a night and day difference in like one of their other matches where the kids haven't gotten to that level yet, and they're just wrestling. I'll send it to you. I'll show you. They're 2 6-minute matches, and you can see the difference of it, of how much different someone looks as a star compared to someone who's not me being a star, me being more seasoned versus someone who is newer and not knowing the difference.
Right.
that's the difference. Like if you took the pictures versus them not working towards you, it makes a huge difference in demeanor and how you're carried.
Totally. But I tell you what, we are usually a 1 hour show, and we
Sorry, I
are
went over.
coming a little over there. Yeah. So that's okay though. That's okay. Because it's good conversation, but I do have a few questions I'd like to ask you before we finish up the entire conversation. Before I do that though, Mark, we've heard from you, the other Mark, we've heard from you a little bit, but Sean, you've been very quiet tonight.
Yes, sorry, I'm just listening in.
He's digesting all that sushi.
I still
I
have.
hope it was good, man. It looked phenomenal.
It was
Yeah,
fantastic.
They look good.
From whatever I ate, I'm feeling pretty good. I mean, I'm gonna regret it, but I'm feeling good.
Don't regret. Just feel great.
Have you ever thought of getting into pro wrestling, Sean?
No, you know what? I did. There was a time many moons ago in a galaxy far, far away where I was like, I'm gonna be a professional skateboarder, and now I'm just hanging all my broken shit or leaving it somewhere in my office and all around the house. But I mean, there was a time when I wanted to, really push myself to become one of those guys you see on a magazine. But I mean, it's hard, man. Like, I beat the piss out of myself like every fucking week for the last 21 years. And it's, it takes a toll on you. But at the end of the day, I mean, like, I'm doing my last like fucking big, huge video part where I'm just going to fucking put balls to the wall. I don't care if I break shit and I fall and, fuck up my face, lose some teeth. I don't care. I'm just going to fucking put it out there. It's the last thing I'm doing. And then it's just like coasting. Like I go out, I have a leg day. That's basically it. So it's taken a toll on me to the point where like now I understand, like I have a full-time job. I have rent to pay. I got a car to pay for. And I can't really do this shit anymore.
That's awesome.
That was the first time actually I met Brian, believe it or not.
That's right. That's right.
That was a good day. I was fucked up though.
But you were so good. So if you had stuck to it, man, you absolutely. I mean, who knows, man? You're just having fun right now, and you're doing what you love to do, and you're busy with your car. You're doing all kinds of things. Your life has shifted, but you still are this guy. You still did this stuff.
Honestly, the door's unlocked. How old are you?
I'm 29 in December.
Trust, like literally the past 6 months, more has unlocked for me in the past 6 months than did for like 10, 12 years prior when I got in. So the only advice I can give you is the second that you stop worrying about becoming anything in the area that you love is the second that all the doors unlock. I'm not kidding you. I'm like, oh, I'm out. I'm just going to wrestle for a little while longer and I'm out. And then all of a sudden within the past month, and I'll talk to Brian, I'll talk to you guys about it after this, but like within a month, so many doors have unlocked where it's like, maybe I can go for a couple more years. Maybe I'm going to have to.
Yeah. I'm in that
You never know.
I'm in that same boat now, actually, because like I just like even the stuff that like I've been posting on my Instagram, right? Like it's just me dicking around with a bunch of my friends, right? Like everybody has been telling me too, like your whole dynamic from like going so fucking hard every time you go out just to get some footage, like to now it's like you're just dicking around and having a good time. But like now that I'm fucking around, so many more people are like, let's go out, let's do something, let's find a spot, let's go here, let's go there. And I'm like,
Just do it for you, man. Just do it for you. The less you do it for other people and the more you do it for yourself, the more fun other people are going to have because they're like, oh, he's being genuine with himself. And that's all people want. They just want to watch other people genuinely having a good time, not being a character.
Exactly. That's like my free therapy, basically. I just go out and beat the shit out of myself, and then I just deal with the problems later. I'm just like, all right, we'll work it out.
Credit card of life. We'll pay it later.
Exactly. I can wait a little bit on that bill. It's okay.
We'll default on it when we die. We won't pay it back. It's fine.
At least you had fun.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Mark, anything you want to say before we?
No, I just want to say thanks for being on. I mean, it's been a great show. I think we've had a great conversation here, so it's lots of fun. So thanks for being.
I appreciate it. I love this type of conversation. I'd love to do it again anytime you guys want.
We will ask you. We like having people on again.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay, so here's the questions for you, my friend. Question number one. Actually, you know the answer. You know this question already. We ask our guests if they'd like to issue a challenge or something to our viewers, and you were kind enough to give me one. Do you remember what you issued?
I don't. It's been so long.
No problem. I have it right here. Pick up the phone and call someone who had an issue with you, or vice versa, and either apologize or forgive.
Yep. Do it. That was one of those things where Once I started going to therapy, I literally picked up the phone and I made amends with everybody I had wronged, and it was rough. But I went through down the list, and there was probably about 15, 20 phone calls of people that I really screwed over and shafted because I was a dick. And I called them up and I was like, you don't have to like me, but just know that you were not in the wrong, and I apologize. And a lot of them were people that I didn't talk to for a long time. One of them was a guy that I talked to. His name was Chris, and we didn't talk. We were best of friends from like 5 until mid-20s, maybe 24. And we hadn't talked for 13, 14 years. And it was just a stupid misunderstanding that he had an issue, and I never really explained myself. I just let him walk, and then I was like, screw him. And after like 13, 14 years, I picked up the phone. I was like, the hell is your problem, man? I go, here's the deal. I'm sorry for whatever I did. Let's figure this out. And then 2 days later, he called me. We talked it out, and we now back to being best of friends. So like,
Awesome.
just pick up the damn phone, because there's a lot of people that there's a misunderstanding on stuff that people you really want in your life that you just don't have anymore because of misunderstandings. That's 99% of the problem.
Yeah, and as we get older, we learn to communicate better. That's for sure.
Yeah,
Yes,
and
Or at
so-
least some of us do.
And sometimes, if you leave it too long, you don't get the chance.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Awesome. Okay, great one. So yeah, don't forget that challenge to everybody. And then the first question that you don't know of, unless you've watched our show before, all the way through to the very end, which nobody does, but that's okay.
Well, now I'm gonna start because I really like this format,
All the
honestly.
way to the end, man. Come on, what the fuck?
Okay, so question number one, tool of the trade. So a tool of the trade doesn't necessarily have to be a tool. It could be a concept, a belief, a philosophy, something that you fall back on every day that just helps you get through it.
I mean, it's not a tool for every day. It's more of like, we already talked about the one with looking back on a year, but one of the things that I like is sometimes you get a lot of people that get very upset with you, and they will call you selfish, and they will call you conceited or narcissistic or this and this and this, because people like to throw hate at each other. But I was actually, when I talked to my therapist, do you know the actual definition of selfishness?
Oh, I love this. Words. I love words. I'm looking at
Are you gonna look? Are you really gonna look it up?
Yes.
Google
Hopefully I don't look stupid, and the therapist told me incorrectly. But from what he told me, I never really looked it up. I just took his word for it, but it made sense to me and it resonated.
Go for it. What
They told me is selfishness is doing something with the intent of harm. So the idea is that when people call you selfish, or when people will come, because a lot of times selfish is like the number one, I'll point a finger at you and call you selfish because you're doing what you want to do in life. Like, Sean, you want to go skate. But if someone's like, oh, you're not paying attention to me enough, or you're not doing this, this, and this, you're being selfish. So then I have to ask myself the question, am I going out and skating with the intent of hurting you because I'm choosing to skate? No, then I'm not being selfish, and that's a you problem. Figure it out.
Man, where were
So
you
once I
last, like 5 to 10 relationships?
I learned it through my last relationship. It took me 6 years to figure it out, and took me till 36 years old to figure it out. But like, if you look at life that way, because I have people in my life that are like, well, you're not around anymore, and you're not doing this, and you're going off and wrestling now, and you want to do this and do this and do this. And I look at them and I go, I don't react, and I sit in my head and I go, am I making this choice with the intent of hurting them? Or like in a relationship, your boys go and ask you to go out to the bar, right? And your girlfriend is like, don't go out to the bar, it's rude and it's wrong. And then you're like, in your mind, you're like, I'm going out to the bar to have a drink with my friends. Nothing more. I'm not going out to meet anybody. I'm not going out to do anything inappropriate. I'm just having a conversation with my friends. Is that the intent of hurting your girlfriend? No, then your girlfriend has to figure that out on her own, because that's a her problem, not a you problem. And like, that's something I look at a lot of times when people have beef with me or people have problems, which is, again, going back to, if you can answer that question, that you did it, but there was a part of you that could have come across as you're trying to hurt them because you were doing it selfishly, pick up the damn phone and call them and be like, yeah, I was being selfish. But other than that, that's a them problem. People got to figure that out. Also, here's another one. One more. This is my biggest piece of advice that I got out of life. The world changed for me, Brian, no joke, is that everybody walks around like this. They have their finger pointed at the world, and
Yeah.
everybody else is the problem, and everything is the problem of why they are at their life. The second that I went, it's my choice. The people that I choose for relationships, my problem. The job I'm at, my problem. The reason I am where I am in my life, 100% my problem. I am the reason why. I'm choosing these people. I'm choosing these situations. I'm choosing not to make choices. Sean, you're choosing to slow down in your skating, and you're choosing to do what you want to do now. It's made your life easier. You're choosing the jobs you have. You're choosing to do this casually. It's making your life better because you're owning your own shit.
You're choosing to get microphones so you can start Planet Pointless again.
Thank God.
But there you go. But like, it's all about choices. And so when everybody sits here and you hear people complain about, oh, my life isn't where it wants to be. You know what I tell people all the time too with that? I could go on for days. I'm sorry, Brian. We could have a whole nother hour-long conversation with this. But like, when I point the finger and people are like, well, I can't do it, and I can't do this, and I can't do that, and I go, you know why you're not where you are, where you want in life, or why you don't have the relationship, or why you're not doing the things you love? It's because you don't want to do it. You are choosing to be in this horrible spot in your life because you are comfortable with it, and that's where you want to be. Because the second that you're like, I don't want to be this anymore, is the second that you'll actually change. But the people are so comfortable with being miserable that they'd rather be miserable because that's the choice they made, because that's what they want.
That's because they were in the pot as it was turned on, and then it boiled slowly.
But it's the choice that but realistically, once they
But
start
it's
to
not
realize
easy,
that it's
yeah.
like, they're like, you're in this relationship because you want to be here. And they're like, no, I don't. I'm like, if you didn't want it, you wouldn't be here. So
Right.
clearly you want this choice. You're just unwilling to change.
Yeah.
It is a want, not a situational thing. And once people start realizing that, like, they have the choice, oh my God, then it opens your eyes and you're like, you don't want to leave this relationship. That's why you stay in this abusive relationship. You don't want this job. That's why you're staying with the job you have.
Mm-hmm.
Where has this man been, and why are we not friends for years?
Sean, honestly, get a hold of me. This is like literally, so the next step, and I'll be honest, is that I've started looking into it. I don't know how silly it is, but I've looked into like the life coaching stuff of just being able to help people and talk to them. And I don't even want to charge for it. I just want to like talk to people and help them out, because I went through a lot of stuff in my life and I made lots of poor choices. But every poor choice has been, a learning experience. And I'm one of those people that I fail every day. When people run from the darkness, I turn into it and go, hell yeah. And I run right into it, because what do you get? Darkness. It's not that big a deal. But I fail every day. I find something uncomfortable, because then eventually nothing's uncomfortable.
Mhm.
So, Sean, if you want, you can get my stuff from Brian, and you can talk to me anytime you want. If you want to set up video calls and we'll sit and chat, we can do this all the time, because
Hell yeah.
what you're going through right now, I've lived it. I've lived it for the past 10, 15 years, and I get it. I've gone through the highs, the lows, the very low lows, and some very decent highs. And it's not all gloom and doom. It's just a matter of, it's actually not gloom and doom at all.
It's
It's just
perspective.
a perspective.
Yeah.
That's it, man.
All right. Well, I'm gonna take
Perfect.
you up on that. That's good shit.
Love
Please
it.
do, man.
Love it. Okay,
Awesome.
last question before we
Yeah.
say goodnight.
Sorry to keep you so long. I apologize.
It's all
Right.
good, Mark. Hey, so far the longest show that we've done is with a wrestler, and that was with Brendan Holden Albright.
Oh,
We're
he's
going
so
to need to
good.
go soon, though, because I think my friend needs to go outside. It's going to get
Yeah,
messy if he
and I know
doesn't.
Shelly wants dinner. So anyway, last
Shelly.
question. Last question. What's your jam? What song do you love, man? What song can you not skip past? 5-star every time you hear it. Just that one song that your brain just goes, bing. I love this song.
I don't know. There's so many of them. So it's the one song that I always go back to because it reminds me of when I was a kid, is Crisscross Jump. I love Crisscross.
Come on. Daddy
huge-
Mac will make you. I
Jump,
love that
jump.
song.
I love it.
that song.
I love that. Yep. So
That's
I used
solid
to jam out to all the time. I used to listen to the tape because my dad
That's
had
so
the cassette
funny.
tape, and I would listen to it on loop.
Dude, I used to work at Jean Machine, and we sold the crisscross jeans and clothing that went on backwards.
Oh, well, I actually wore mine backwards when I was in like elementary school until I could not get the pants off quick enough, peed myself, then had to flip the pants around and had the pee stain on my ass, and then that was the end of it. So then I went the shirt around the waist. And
We'll get
I
you,
lasted the
back
rest
on
of
the
day.
show for the most embarrassing moments show.
Yes. Yes.
But it was horrible. It's like, and that was the day I stopped. But I still wanted to jump.
There you go.
Oh, that's funny. All right, Mark. This has
Awesome.
been a lot of fun. Thank you so much for spending the night with us. This will air at some time, and I'll make sure you get a copy
Just
for
tag
sure.
me on it and so I can plug it, because I'd love to have everybody listen.
And when you plug it, where do you plug it to?
I don't know, all the social medias, just at the Marc Hauss. You can just put it wherever you want, but everything is at the Marc Hauss.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, man. And to the other Mark and to Sean, thank you both for being here. And to Aurora, who didn't make it this week. She's super busy doing all kinds of stuff. That's why she wasn't able to make it tonight. So we love Aurora too. And we wish you all a great week. We'll see you all next time. Before we do, Shell, do you want to say goodbye to Mark? That's all we get from Shelly. See you, everybody. Take care. Ooh.